Don't you guys wish that Riot would release a map that mostly depended on how well you can aim? It'd be great, right? Finally, all those hours you sunk into aim labs and grid shot would finally translate into some wins, you know? Well, if that sounds like paradise to you, then don't worry, because Icebox is just that. This cold, snowy map almost requires you to be a good shot. With the hundreds of angles that you have to worry about, it'll be a lot harder to win without having some good raw aim. Not all of us can hit crazy shots like Kasuna or Tens, but if you're a bot like me and can't hit the broadside of a barn, don't worry, because today here on SkillCapped, we're going to go over how you can attack on this map without it being an aim duel fiesta. And after that, we're going to go over some footage of pros attacking on this map themselves. So before we actually talk about attacking the sites, we need to talk about team compositions. Like every other map, Icebox has specific agents that are considered better than others. One agent that we think is a must pick while playing Icebox is everyone's favorite healer, and that's Sage. Icebox is designed in such a way that there are very specific parts of each bomb site that you want to focus on planting on, and Sage makes your life 100 times easier while trying to plant on those parts. If your team doesn't lock her in, we highly suggest you do and learn how to play her. As a matter of fact, she makes Icebox so much easier to play on that according to Valorant.com, she has over an 80% pick rate on this map. If that doesn't prove to you that she's an almost must pick on this map, then I don't know what will. Now before we get into the rest of the guide, I just want to say if you're looking on guides for every other map, we have those as well at SkillCapped.com. We have sort of commentaries where Radiant level players talk you through their games and show you how to play difficult maps like Icebox. Or maybe if you wanted to learn how to play another map, we can help you with that too. We also have a rank improvement guarantee, so if you don't see your rank improving, you'll get your money back. But there's literally so much value here, I find it hard to believe that you won't improve. If you're looking for the fastest way to climb on Valorant, be sure to check out SkillCapped.com, link in the description below. So why is Sage so important on this map? Well, the answer to that is that Icebox was designed in such a way that only certain parts of the bomb site are realistic to plant in without getting sprayed from other parts of the site where defenders can see or spray you. And this is where Sage comes in. Her wall prevents enemies from spraying you down as you're trying to plant and secure extremely important parts of each bomb site. On A site, there are two main spots. The first one requires you to place a wall in a very specific way. If you plant it like this, you can get the plant off and usually play for post plant with your team. This spot is great if you have a composition that has someone like Viper, Killjoy, Brimstone, or anyone with a Molotov. If you can stagger your utility, meaning that everyone takes their turn throwing mollies at the bomb, this would make it extremely difficult to defuse as defenders. They have to worry about clearing the various angles that you're playing from, the time they have to defuse, and not getting shot at all at the same time. If you don't have agents that are good at spamming the bomb, then this plant spot might not be as great. So another spot you're going to want to have your Sage wall off is backside like this. This gives your team a ton of breathing room once the bomb is down. And without this control, the retake is going to be extremely easy for the enemy team. But as strong as Sage is, she can't get the bomb down herself. She either needs somebody to hold her rafters as she goes for the plant, or for someone to smoke it out for her. If no one helps her, she's probably going to get swung and the round is most likely over unless somebody hits some nasty shots. Now let's talk about the B site. This site was so wonderfully designed that you can only plant on like 5% of the site, and that percentage is this small little box closest towards B main. The reason why it's difficult to plant anywhere else is because you can't really plant in another spot without being exposed to so many different parts of the map. If you have a Sage, you can plant in this corner alongside her wall to protect you from anyone trying to shoot you. Honestly, there's a bunch of walls that can work, but without her wall, you're forced to plant in the open, or against this box, which of the most recent patch is even more wall bangable now. In higher levels of play, teams will place Viper's Orb or have Killjoy Mollies in this spot to prevent any teams from having an easy plant, even with the Sage wall. This requires you to bait out a lot of utility before it's even safe to plant. Now attacking isn't as easy as just slapping down a Sage wall and planting the bomb. Getting the bomb down, like on any other map, should be a whole team process. So let's talk about smokes. Without them, both sites are near impossible to take. And like I said before, Icebox has a million different angles to worry about, so a simple smoke or two can make your life 100 times easier. The two most common smoke characters on this map are either Omen or Viper, and we'll show you how you should be playing both of them. If you're playing Omen, this smoke on pipes can be a great way for your team to scale up the site. It blocks off any angles from pipes while making sure no one is peeking you through the middle of a site. Pair this smoke alongside a Sova Arrow, a Skydog, or a Raised Boombot, and the front half of a site is clear. One popular way you defend Icebox is to play aggressive by pushing up and taking the zipline, so by using all this utility, you won't have to worry about people playing aggressive on you. Once you get closer, throw this smoke on rafters so your Sage can more safely get closer and wall the back of sight. Or if you can't get that pipe smoke down because your team is aggressing too quickly, you can throw this smoke down towards the back of sight so your team can scale the site alongside your flash. If you're playing Viper, your walls are going to be very simple. If you decided to take the A site, this wall is going to be your default. I personally don't recommend placing it down before the round starts. You might need it later in case you end up not going A. Plus you're going to want to use this wall in case you don't have your orb. It covers heaven and underneath it, and this wall works pretty well if you don't have a Sage. As for your smoke, you're going to want to line up with the buy barrier, aim in between this black line and that rectangle, and jump through. This smoke is going to be similar to Omen's as it's going to cut off rafters and allow your Sage an easy wall. If you combine these smokes alongside some of your teammates' utility, A site becomes much less of an aim duel. One part of the map I've yet to talk about is mid. This part of the map is kind of weird as it's basically too narrow for more than 1 or 2 people to go through. Most pro teams don't usually utilize mid either, unless they're going for some goofy strat that requires planning and like a ton of teamwork. One strategy that I've seen that isn't that uncommon is that Sage will wall across from mid and your team can push under the tube. This one's a little harder to put off, but I've seen it work. Usually teams will throw a Sage slow or some sort of molly on your head and the whole execute is sort of ruined, but that doesn't mean that you can't use this every now and then. With Viper or Omen, using one of your smokes here allows your teammates to lurk through them later in the round. Having a good lurk takes off a ton of pressure from your teammates who are actually pushing the site. Getting 1 or 2 good lurks in makes the enemy more aware that it could happen again. So if you choose to lurk, try to mix it up. Trying to lurk your way into kitchen is one of the strongest lurks in my opinion, as it is extremely annoying for defenders to get somebody out of there and try to re-clear it. Now let's talk about the B site. In order to clear B main itself, I highly recommend you clear it out thoroughly with a Sova drone, a raised boombot, a skydog, or even a jet updraft and dash onto the boxes. You just need something to clear the space out in case somebody's playing nearby with a judge, an Omen playing on top of the boxes, or someone opping B main itself. Now once your team has worked their way up the site, you're going to want to line up your Viper wall like so that it covers Nest and Snowman. Same thing goes for Omen. If you only have one smoke though, use it for Snowman as that's usually good enough. Just be sure not to leave any cracks in it as your teammates are going to hate you if they get shot through it. Like I mentioned before, it's a team effort to move up the site. You need more than a Sage wall and some smokes. On A site, here's a good arrow to throw if you're playing Sova. It'll cover pipes and anyone underneath. If you're playing any other agent, just try to use their utility to clear out the front half of A site with your team, or save it for the back half if your team is aggressing too fast. This means a raised boombot, a KO knife, Killjoy turret, Sky dog, Cypher cam. Any of these are great options at gathering information. Just use something so your team doesn't die to someone playing up close. In B main, the same thing applies. This arrow should clear the whole part of the map, or use a drone if they start shooting it out. Line up with your back against the container as the bio barrier goes down. Keep hugging it until you see this little black and yellow thing. Full charge it and 1 bounce it. This will clear out the entirety of B main without wasting your drone. Again, if you're playing another agent, try your best to use your utility so your team can scale safely up the site, but we highly recommend Sova for this map. Now to end this video, I want to show you some pro footage of them actually using what I talked about today. For our first clip, we have a round between 100 Thieves and Envy. Remember what I said about defending A. One of the best ways to defend this site is by playing aggressive and looking for kills. Envy knows this and decides to use Sova's Owl drone to pave the way through. They spot Asuna playing in Nest, trying to get a pick off from Belt. The reason why this drone is so important is that it gathers so much information on players that are trying to get aggressive. It also serves as something to trade off if it does spot someone. After that, you'll see Jet and Raze both start using their utility to create some space for their team. Raze's grenade clears out anyone trying to fight for Maze, while Jet's updraft makes it very awkward for defenders to kill her and kill her teammates trying to trade her off. Had she just run in the straight line, there's a good chance that defenders can get 2 kills instead of 1. Trades are made, but Ethan ends up getting 2 kills because Rafters isn't smoked off. Had it been smoked off, Ethan doesn't get those 2 kills and Envy wins that round that much easier. Next, we'll be taking a look at a round between Sentinels and Envy. Notice how the round starts. Viper is lining up her poison orb for mid. After she throws it, take a look at the minimap, and notice how many people are drawn to that orb. Killjoy and Sova both lean towards mid, and then this makes both sides relatively open. If someone from Sentinels were to walk through the tube and get a kill, it would almost certainly win them the round, which would explain the rotates focusing on it. Op shots are traded, but then you notice Sova's drone leading his team through B main. This clears out anyone that could be close or hiding on an elevated surface. Once Sentinels have worked their way up, you'll notice Viper's wall go up. This blocks the op we saw before, or anyone else trying to stop the plant. Now, this is where it gets kinda stupid. Sage walls so that you can plant safely on this little sliver of site. That's like 0.5% of the site. And not only that, but enemy knows that you can't really plant anywhere else on B. So they already have lineups for that exact spot and plant their Viper smokes on that spot so they can't even get the plant off. I'm sorry if I sound upset, but me and some of our Discord members agreed that B site is not our favorite. If you want to join that server, by the way, the link's in the description. Sick barely gets the plant down, and the Tens get some nasty kills as Envy tries to retake the site, I guess. It's not really a site, it's really just one sliver of the site, I don't know. Defuse the bomb, I don't know, whatever you want to call it. But this was all just a taste of our complete walkthroughs on how to play Icebox from our website. We actually have tons of Icebox Smurf commentaries where we have Radiant players walk you through exactly how to play these maps during a live game, and they're super helpful to see in real time what goes through a top tier player's head. As you mentioned before, it's also backed by a rank improvement guarantee. And the reason we do that is because we are just that confident that our service works. And if it doesn't work, you shouldn't pay. So what are you waiting for? You've got nothing to lose. Head on over to SkillCapped.com and get started on your way to the rank that you deserve. I hope this video helped you guys learn how to play Icebox a bit better. It can be a brutal map that requires a lot of aim, but with a little thought, it doesn't have to be. It can actually be a fun map to play when you've got it right, and hopefully we've showed you that in this video. As always, if you guys enjoyed the video, be sure to drop a like and subscribe to the channel below. It really does help us out. And that's all for us. I'm Teets, and we here at SkillCapped want to thank you for watching, and we'll catch you in the next one.